My earliest memory is of my mother kneeling in the kitchen at 2 a.m., sewing a button back onto my only dress shirt. I was 5. Dad had passed a year earlier, heart failure. And she'd been holding us together with thread and prayer ever since. We had no help. No inheritance, just her and me, and an apartment that creaked every time the wind blew too hard. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning houses by day and checking groceries by night. She never complained, never paused, even when her hands cracked from the cold, or when she fell asleep standing in line at the food bank. I knew we were poor, but I never felt small. She made our world feel whole. Every good thing I've achieved, college, career, character, I owe to her. She taught me resilience, respect, and how to love without condition. That kind of love carved itself into my bones. I met Claire at a nonprofit fundraiser. She was warm, bright, and the first person I'd met who asked about my mom before asking what I did for a living. When they met, something clicked. Claire clung to my mother's every word, laughed at her jokes, lingered in hugs longer than most would. It took me a while to understand. Claire had grown up in a house where affection was rationed. For her, my mother's kindness was water in a desert. We got married the next spring. At first, it felt like a dream, 2 women I loved getting along so naturally. But when Mom got sick that winter, things shifted. Claire grew quiet, cold. "You're always with her," she said one night, barely whispering. I tried to explain, Mom needed me, now more than ever. But Claire's eyes had changed. She didn't see a sick woman needing care. She saw competition. One night, she slammed the door so hard the picture of my mother fell from the hallway wall. When Mom's health declined, I bought her a small condo 2 blocks from ours. Nothing fancy, just safe and close enough that I could check on her every evening. It felt right. She'd given me everything. This was the least I could do. Claire didn't agree. "You're obsessed," she said one night. "She's not your wife, I am." I stared at her, unsure if I'd heard her right. "She calls 3 times a day," she added. "You drop everything for her. It's not normal." I tried to reason with her, to explain that this was temporary, that I could balance both. But Claire wasn't listening. Her voice trembled, not with sadness, but something sharper. "I can't live like this," she finally said. "It's her or me." I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just stood there, heart sinking, and said quietly, "Then I guess you've made your choice." Because mine was already made. I told Claire I was moving out, not out of anger, but because the silence between us had grown louder than any fight could be. "I think we need to end this," I said. "I want a divorce." She didn't scream. She didn't argue. Just stood still, eyes glazed over. Then, like a dam cracking, she broke. "I was never mad at her," she whispered. "I was mad at how easy it was for you. How loved you were." Tears spilled down her cheeks as words tumbled out in gasps. She baked cookies for the neighbor kids, sewed Halloween costumes for strangers, and her voice cracked. "I never had that. Not once. I was always waiting to be enough." She looked at me, raw and trembling. Being your wife meant always coming second to someone who never even tried to make me feel like a daughter. I stood frozen, not out of judgment, but because I finally saw her, not the anger, the wound beneath it. And it broke something in me too. A few days later, Mom asked quietly over tea, "Did Claire tell you about the baby?" I blinked. "What baby?" She hesitated, then whispered, "She was pregnant. She told me weeks ago." She was scared, but she wanted to tell you. My world stopped. Hours later, my phone buzzed, Claire's name. I picked up, heart racing. Her voice was hollow. "It's gone," she said. "The baby. It's over." I couldn't speak. My hand shook. "You weren't there," she continued, colder now. "You chose her, while I was bleeding in a waiting room, alone." Guilt hit like a punch. I hadn't known. But maybe I should have. The child I never got to meet. Gone before I even knew to love them. And now Claire's grief turned to rage, her pain aimed straight at me. Inside, something cracked, grief, fury, regret tangled together. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just sat in the dark, hollowed out. A week later, Claire was hospitalized after a breakdown in the middle of a grocery store, crying, shouting at shadows only she could see. Doctors called it a severe personality disorder, layered with trauma from emotional neglect in childhood. Years of pain folded into silence, now unraveling all at once. I visited daily, not as a husband, not exactly, more like a witness of who she'd become and what I'd missed. She couldn't talk to me in person, but one day, the nurse handed me an envelope. Inside was her handwriting, shaky, but clear. "Dear Jay," it began. "I know you hate me, but I need to believe someone still sees the version of me that tried." I wrote back. One page. Then two dots soon, it became our rhythm. Letters passed like lifelines through the sterile air. And in those pages, something shifted. We didn't talk about love, we talked about pain, fear, guilt, the things we never had the words for until now. One morning, her letter was different. I think it's time, Claire wrote. Not because I don't care, but because I finally understand how much I have to grow. Alone. Please don't wait for me. It was the most mature thing she'd ever said, but I couldn't let it in like that. When I visited, I slid a note into her hand. Then let's call it space, not goodbye. Heal that I will too. We didn't hug, we just nodded. She left for the coast a week later, taking nothing but books and a soft promise to keep going. I flew with Mom overseas for a specialist clinic. She was weaker now, but still full of quiet fire. Yes, I cared for her. I started therapy too. Real therapy. Not the check-in kind, but the kind that makes you bleed a little to feel whole. Months passed. Claire sent postcards. I replied with journal entries that we were no longer us. We were two people learning how to live right. For ourselves, not through each other. Spring came quietly. Mom, against the odds, began to recover. Slow steps, long days, small victories. Her laughter returned, soft and steady, like an old song remembered. One morning, I looked up from watering the garden and saw Claire standing at the gate, no suitcase, no makeup, just her. I asked your mom if I could come, she said. She said she'd save me tea. We sat outside, no tension, no pass to untangle. She asked how I'd been. I asked how therapy was. She smiled, still peeling back layers. For the first time, I didn't see the girl who needed saving or the wife who left. I saw a person. Changed. Hold, we didn't talk about us, that we didn't need to. That night, as she hugged my mother goodbye, there was no jealousy in her eyes, just warmth. When she turned to leave, I walked her to the gate. See you again? I asked. She nodded. Whether or not we'd find each other again didn't matter. We'd found ourselves.